We've got a new report coming out from Super Bowl weekend that talks about Russell Wilson and the possibility of him staying in Denver. Now, I want to open up by saying I still don't think Russell Wilson is going to be on the Broncos roster in 2024. His salary might be, but he's not going to be. But let's see what some of the NFL insiders, where they all get together, Super Bowl weekend, and, well, NFL's insiders Ian Rapoport, Tom Pelissero, and Mike Garafolo collaborated on what they've heard throughout the week, and they talked about Russell Wilson and the Broncos. And here's what they said. The Broncos are keeping all options on the table at QB, including the possibility of reopening talks with Russell Wilson about restructuring his contract to keep him in Denver for 2024. Now, that is a new twist to the story because it felt like, and all we've heard is, they're not coming back. This one is over. This is a divorce, and there's no way Russell Wilson returns. And I still don't think Russell Wilson returns. But I do think it's important to go back in time for a moment. So let's go back to the start of the entire Russell Wilson saga in Denver and how it led to him being benched. Because I think if we go through the timeline, we can actually learn a little bit about whether or not there is a possibility Russell Wilson returns. Allow me to explain. Let's go back to day one, okay? October 29th is, I think, the first day of this story. And that is when the Broncos beat the Chiefs, right? They've won 2 in a row right now. Vibes are high. They snapped a long losing streak to Kansas City. Vibes are high. Everything was great in Denver, right? What was not to love? Then they go in the bye week. And this is where things started to get hairy because later on we would learn during the bye, the Broncos approached Russell Wilson and his agent about changing the language in his contract to get rid of that injury guarantee for his 2024-2025 salary. And this is when things started to crumble. And Russell Wilson was shocked, and I would be too. You just beat the Chiefs at home, and the team approaches you about changing language in your contract. Like, that doesn't show a lot of confidence in that player being there for the next season or two when they just slayed the dragon that is the Kansas City Chiefs. Okay, so that's step 2 in this timeline. Step 3 is following that bye, and before that bye as well, Denver would go on to win 5 games in a row. Vibes could not be higher in Denver right now, right? This was a team that was deader than dead. They were 1-5, and all of a sudden they are 6-5, and they are looking for a playoff spot. So who's thinking of moving on from Russell Wilson at this moment? He wasn't perfect in that stretch, but I don't think your average Joe would think, team's 5-0 in the last 5 weeks. Let's get rid of that starter, though, right? That's not what usually crosses people's minds. And I don't think the Broncos anticipated going on a 5-game winning streak when they approached Russell Wilson about changing the language in his contract. So, after threatening to bench him if they did not change the language in his contract, the team won a couple of games in a row, and they backed off, right? Imagine the message that would send to season ticket holders, to fans. I know we just won 3, 4, 5 games, but we are benching Russell Wilson right now. No, you'd have a mutiny on your hands. So they kept Russell Wilson in there. But then they started to go downhill, right? They lose to the Patriots at home. They lose on the road to Houston. They get embarrassed in Detroit. They go 1-3 in the middle of December, and now they go back to where they started, which was, hey, can we change the language in your contract? And now they've got a justifiable reason to bench Russell Wilson if he says no. They can point to the last couple of weeks, and that's exactly what happened. On December 23rd, they benched Russell Wilson. And they had a reason to give, which was the offense needed a spark. That's what Sean Payton said. I call BS on that. They didn't bench Russell Wilson, at least they may not publicly admit it, because of what happened in this stretch right here. They benched him because of why they wanted to bench him back then, which is if you don't change the language in your contract, we don't want you around here anymore. But that's the funny thing, okay? Denver approached Wilson to change the injury clause in his contract because they wanted to keep him for 2024. At least that's what I would assume, right? If you didn't want him in 2024, then you can just cut him and not do this song and dance asking him to change the contract. What if Russell Wilson agreed to change it? Okay, they get what they want, and then they still cut him? If that was the plan all along, then why would you want to negotiate with him, right? If you wanted to move on from Russell Wilson after 2023, you wouldn't ask him to alter a contract that you're about to rip up. Isn't that kind of strange? That's like, hey, can you please add pepperoni to my pizza order? By the way, I don't want pizza. Delete that order. We're getting Burger King. No free ads. It doesn't make sense to me why Denver would approach him to change it if the plan all along was to move on from him. However, once you benched him, I don't think there's a way you can put the cap back in the bag. There's no way you can go back. I think there's no way. I'm not in an NFL locker room, so I could be wrong. But I got to envision those other players are going to think, this is one elephant in the room. Russell's back as the starter, and they benched him at the end of the season last year. This is just not going to work. This is going to lead to drama. This is going to lead to us getting a 30 for 30 done in a decade about the disastrous 2024 season that was the Denver Broncos because they brought back the quarterback that they benched. That's like living with your wife after getting divorced. That's not going to lead to a lot of good interactions in the kitchen. Not a good idea. So what do you guys think the percent chance is that Russell Wilson returns in 2024? I don't think it's high. I don't. I understand that the Big J's might have said that there's a possibility Russell Wilson returns, and we'll talk about that slim chance, but I don't think it's high. If I'm putting a stab at it, I'd give it a 5% chance. 5% chance that Russell Wilson returns in 2024. And I'll tell you why I think that is even a slight chance, but albeit very low in just a moment. But first, today's sponsor is Game Time. If you want to go catch an Avs game, a Nuggets game, a Rockies game soon, or any other sporting event, concert, or comedy shows. I love comedy shows. Download the Game Time app and use code Broncos Chat for $20 off your first purchase. Download Game Time today, and once you do that, you're going to see so many great options on the Game Time app, including my personal favorite, which is the ability to see your view from your seat before you purchase your ticket. That way you don't show up to the arena or the stadium and you're like, I had no idea we were all the way up in the nosebleeds or we were sitting behind this big pole or something. No, with Game Time, you can get an awesome bird's eye view before you purchase your ticket. So download the Game Time app and use code Broncos Chat for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply, but again, redeem that code Broncos Chat for $20 off. Shout out to Game Time. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Let's run through the finances for a moment, and we'll land as to why there may be even a slim chance Russell Wilson returns. So the most likely outcome here is that the Broncos move on from him this offseason. Now, how they do that is somewhat important as well. If they move on from him before March 17th, which is a month and change away, they are stuck with a dead cap hit of $85 million, right? That is money being paid to a player that is not on your roster. That's what a dead cap is, right? Your parents give you a budget, like Oscar from The Office, $5. $85 million of that budget is being devoted to a guy not on your roster. That's really tough to overcome if you are building a roster. That's almost as bad as what the Oakland A's do every single season, okay? Now, if you move on from him after June 1, if you make him a post-June 1 designation, what that allows you to do is take that $85 million and spread it between 2024 and 2025. So if you do not want to incur $85 million on your tab for this offseason, you could make him a post-June 1 designation and make it a little bit easier on you for this offseason, but also a little tough on you for the next offseason. Personally, if you're picking between one of the two, I'm leaning towards the pre-March 17th release. 2024 is not going to be a season. I mean, maybe I'm going to be wrong and people are going to be upset that the Denver Broncos are going to be hoisting the Lombardi Trophy. So you might as well just get it all out of the way this offseason. That way you can go into 2025 without having $50 million of your budget devoted to a player not on your roster, right? Does anyone think the Broncos are going to be serious contenders in the AFC this year? And so they need to maximize their spending abilities this offseason? No. Maybe they catch lightning in a bottle and they draft a rookie quarterback, and kind of like the Texans, like just an incredible run. But even the Texans' run didn't end in the Super Bowl. So I'd rather see Denver just bite the bullet, get it out of the way in 2024, go into 2025 with a clean slate. Now, what do you guys think? Should Denver spread the dead cap it out over 2 seasons, or should they just eat it all in 2024? Give me what your opinion is down below in the comment section. I always love hearing from our viewers. Personally, like I said, I'd eat it all now. Now, the only way I could see that 5% chance that Denver maybe brings back Russell Wilson is they come out of the NFL Combine with a good idea as to where the top 3 quarterbacks are going to go. Caleb Williams, Drake May, and Jayden Daniels. They're going to go 1, 2, 3, and none of those teams want to trade out. Okay? So rule them off your draft board. And then they discover they don't like Bo Nix, Michael Penix, or J.J. McCarthy very much for whatever reason. So now they are stuck with Jarrett Stidham and maybe drafting a day 2 quarterback to compete for the starting job. If they get to that point and there's no other attractive free agent option out there, maybe they decide we have to make a very uncomfortable phone call to Russell Wilson's agent and say, we want to keep you because we just came out of the Combine and it's clear to us that all the quarterbacks we do like are not going to be available to us at number 12, and we have no chance of trading up. And the quarterbacks that will be available to us, we don't like. And we're not going to just pick a quarterback for the sake of picking a quarterback, which I do think is the right decision. And then they're faced with, well, is Jarrett Stidham going to be that much better than Russell Wilson? Let's bring it back with Russ and try and make amends and just get through 2024. That's the 5% chance I think Russell Wilson returns. But I think Denver's going to try like hell to move up because Dane Brugler just put out his top 100. And he's got Caleb Williams at number 1, Drake May at number 4, Jayden Daniels at number 8. This is just all player rankings, right? Including all the positions. So this is not a mock draft or anything like that. He's got J.J. McCarthy at 24, which is an interesting name to keep an eye on because he continues to see his stock rise throughout the offseason. Bo Nix at 37, Michael Penix at 57, Spencer Rattler at 88, and Michael Pratt at 100. Mel Kiper recently, by the way, he put out his quarterback rankings. He's got Caleb Williams number 1. He's got Jayden Daniels number 2, Drake May number 3, J.J. McCarthy number 4, and Michael Penix 5, Bo Nix 6, and Spencer Rattler 7, along with Michael Pratt at number 8. Personally, here are my quarterback rankings. I go Caleb Williams 1, Drake May 2, Jayden Daniels 3. Don't overthink it. I think it's been very clear for a while, and I'm going to stand by that. I like Michael Penix more than McCarthy or Nix, but I do have concerns over the knee injuries. Joe Milton, this is just my Tennessee bias bleeding through here, but he can throw an orange 100 yards. I think he may have a chance in the NFL. And then I put Michael Pratt at number 8 because he has so much college experience. All right, that's going to do it for us on today's show. Thank you so much for tuning in. I really appreciate everyone taking time out of their day to come hang out with us here at the Broncos Breakdown. We will sign off and catch up later.